Asterisk, the wind carved across the dry flats like a knife through old leather. It wasn't gentle wind, it was the kind that scoured skin, filled mouths with dust, and dragged whispers through mesquite thorns like ghosts not yet buried. Asterisk, she came stumbling. Through it, asterisk, a figure half alive, half ash, silhouetted by the last breath of a dying sun. Her dress, once white, once pressed with dignity, was stained in 6 shades of war, blood, dust, burnt linen. There were no wagons, no horses. Only her feet, torn and blistered inside army boots, too big, too used. One arm clutched a medical satchel like it held her own ribs in. Asterisk, the stagecoach stop sat abandoned, just a tilted shack, a dry trough, and a rotted sign swinging on rusted chains. The kind of place even snakes didn't bother to curl up in anymore. Asterisk, she made it 3 more steps, then she fell. The silence after the thud was strange, like the world had been holding its breath, waiting for her to give in. Then came the spurs, slow, deliberate, unhurried. Asterisk, metal kissed dust with every step, as a figure emerged from the red dusk. Asterisk, long coat, dust-covered hat, asterisk, face shaded, eyes unreadable, asterisk, gun hanging low on his right hip, not like a threat, but like it belonged there more than his own hand. He didn't speak. He knelt beside her, pulled out a metal canteen and touched it to her lips. She flinched, but thirst won over fear. Water dribbled down her chin as she drank, her cracked lips quivering. Asterisk, don't, she gasped. Asterisk, but the man just stared at her for a long moment. His voice was quiet, hoarse, like a crow's wing brushing gravel. Asterisk, you're coming with me. Asterisk, then. He lifted her like she weighed no more than a wounded bird. She woke hours later to the sound of hoofbeats, her head against something warm, furred, moving. A horse. They were riding beneath a bruised sky. A storm brewed somewhere distant, the kind that crackles even when the clouds are too far to see. She tried to sit up. The man held her steady with one hand. "You've got a fever," he said, voice low and clipped. "And a bullet creased near your hip? Lucky it missed the bone? Asterisk, you're... who?" She rasped. He didn't answer. "You? Taking me to jail? Asterisk, no. Asterisk, you a bounty hunter?" "No." She waited, watching his jaw twitch under a day's growth of stubble. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in years. Not really. Just closed his eyes now and then to keep from remembering things. Asterisk, then what the hell do you want? She asked. They rode in silence until the horizon swallowed another hour. "Redemption," he muttered. The night fell slow, the kind that seems to bleed over the hills rather than settle. They made camp beneath a crag of black rock. He lit a fire with one match, dry sagebrush flaring like old sins. Asterisk, she curled up on one side, refusing to sleep, her hand on a hidden blade sewn into her boot. He sat on the other, feeding the fire with wood he'd gathered in silence. The horse stall, black, proud, stood tethered, watching them both like a third witness to a confession not yet made. She studied the man across the flames. "You got a name?" He stirred the coals with a stick, sparks rising like memories. "Elias Creed." Something flickered in her eyes. A name out of newspapers. Or nightmares. "And you?" he asked without looking at her. Asterisk, Clara Wynne. Asterisk, the name. "Hung in the dark." Asterisk, he nodded once. "Heard of you." Asterisk, her pulse ticked in her neck. "Not many left alive who have." Asterisk, exactly. Later, when the fire burned low and the stars dared to show their faces, she began to shake. Fever, not fear, he noticed. Silently he stood, removed his coat, and draped it over her shoulders. She didn't thank him. He didn't need her to. Asterisk, but when her voice came again, it was cracked and soft, like wind through broken rafters. Asterisk, they killed everyone, she said. Asheville, women, children, burned. Them in the chapel. Creed didn't move. I was there, she continued. They thought I'd run. I crawled out from under 2 batas. Still he said nothing. I tried to stop them, the officers. I threatened court-martial, but they'd already lit the oil. Asterisk, the fire popped. A log fell inward. Asterisk, I carried 3 out. 2 died on the trail. The last was a boy, 12, shot in the back. Asterisk Creed's voice came slow. You were stationed there? Asterisk, no, I volunteered. I heard rumors, thought I could help. She looked at the flames, eyes glassed. Instead, I got named a traitor. There's a bounty. They call me a liar. Say, Ashvale never burned? Asterisk Creed reached into his coat, pulled out a small can of beans. Set it near the fire, waited, then finally, asterisk, I rode past Ashvale once. Asterisk, when? Asterisk, before the war ended? Her eyes snapped to him. You were there? She whispered. Asterisk, his face turned to stone. I left before the fire. Clara sat upright, breath shallow. Why? Asterisk, he didn't answer. His hand gripped. The canteen tight. Then, asterisk, I didn't know what they meant to do. Not till I saw the smoke from the ridge. By the time I turned back, it was... He stopped. You left them, she said, not as an accusation. Just truth, he nodded once, slow. I was a coward, asterisk silence. Long and heavy, then Clara leaned back, closed her eyes. You still are, she whispered, and still he stayed. Asterisk the next morning he found her standing alone, arms crossed. Hair whipping in the wind. She didn't look at him when she spoke. There's a trail that cuts through Black Rock Canyon. We follow it, we'll reach the border in 5 days, maybe less. Creed stepped beside her. That's Apache country. Asterisk, she glanced sideways. You scared? His eyes, for the first time, flickered with something almost human. I already... Told you, he said. I'm coming with you. Asterisk, her jaw clenched. She started walking. He followed, and behind them. The wind carried the scent of old ash that still hadn't settled after all these years. Asterisk. Asterisk, the canyon narrowed by noon. Black Rock lived up to its name. Its walls were jagged and coal-dark, etched with the scars of ancient fire. The air was dry but humming, as if the land itself remembered every scream ever swallowed by its stone. Asterisk. Clara moved ahead with a limp, but didn't ask to stop. Her hand stayed close to her side, where the bandage soaked slightly red through her shirt. Elias noticed. He always noticed. But he said nothing. Asterisk above, vultures circled like slow judgment. Below, only hoofbeats and breath filled the silence. Asterisk that. Was until the wind shifted. Asterisk the horse stopped, first ears twitching. Legs tense, Clara froze. Elias Dias. OUNTD. Asterisk, a low growl echoed up from the canyon floor. Then another, wolves, 2 shapes peeled out of the shadowed. Scrub ahead, gray, lean, hungry, the kind of beasts that had long since learned to fear nothing. Their eyes glowed with starvation and desert madness. Asterisk Elias stood still, slowly pulling. His rifle from the saddle. Clara drew her knife. The wolves didn't bark. They just moved in like wind-borne shadows, circling. Elias took a single step forward. The stock of his rifle creaked in his grip. Asterisk then, just before the Lidvolf lunged, he fired. The crack exploded through the canyon. The Volf dropped mid-stride. The second ran for the rocks, limping. Silence returned. Clara lowered her blade. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from fever. She blinked, then blinked again, swaying. Asterisk Elias turned. In 3 steps he was beside her, catching her as she crumpled. They made camp in a half-collapsed chapel that clung to the canyon wall like a broken promise. Asterisk the roof was gone, but 4 scorched pews and a rotted altar still stood. A cross chipped, and blackened hung crooked above the pulpit. Rain hadn't touched it in years. But the wind sang through the ribs of the ruined place, and it sounded like prayer. Asterisk Elias built a fire. Clara sat on a pew, legs trembling, sweat slicking her brow. Asterisk, she pulled the bandage from her arm. The wound was angrier now, rimmed with pus and heat. Without a word, she reached into her satchel for a needle and thread. Asterisk Elias watched her thread. It with shaking fingers. Asterisk, she looked up. You sew? I shoot? He said. She nodded once, then dipped the needle in fire, bit a leather strap, and began to stitch. Asterisk Elias didn't look away. He watched every pass of the thread, every flinch. It wasn't the blood that bothered him, it was the sound she made. Not a scream. Not a moan. Asterisk, just a stifled sob from somewhere deep. The kind of sound no soldier ever forgets, Later they shared a tin of coffee too bitter to be real. She drank anyway. Asterisk, what made you leave? She asked. Her voice was quieter than before, not soft, just raw. He didn't answer right away. Orders changed, he said finally. They told us to wait. Then said ride south, but I'd already heard what was coming. Talk around the fire, men laughing about oil. About smoke. His fingers curled around the cup. I rode back that night. Saw the chapel burn from the ridge. Clara's jaw tightened. There was a woman at Ashvale, Elias continued. Dark hair. Kept a pistol under her apron. Said if they ever came for her, she'd go out with fire in her hands. Asterisk Clara blinked. Sarah Finch. Asterisk Elias nodded slowly. She looked me in the eye that morning. Told me not to come back if I didn't plan to stay. He stared into the coals. I didn't. Stay. At dawn they reached the last stretch of canyon where the rocks narrowed to a chokehold pass. There, half buried in stone, stood a decaying trading post. No sign? No life? Just broken barrels and half-boarded windows. Asterisk they stepped inside with weapons drawn. Fire still smoldered in a pit near the back. Asterisk then came the sound of boots on wood. Clara froze. A man stepped from the shadows, tall, rough-bearded, with a bandolier across his chest. His eyes flicked from Elias to Clara. Asterisk, well, I'll be. He grinned, pulling a crumpled poster from his coat. The bounty. Clara's name. Her face. Asterisk. Didn't think I'd see you again, nurse? He sneered. Thought you died in that chapel like the rest of 'em. She didn't blink. Elias moved fast. One shot. The man dropped. They left the body where it fell. Clara didn't ask why Elias had drawn first. She knew, asterisk, but as they rode out of the canyon, Clara reached into her satchel for something, asterisk, a small leather-bound book, blood-stained at the edges. She stared at it. Elias glanced over. What is it? Asterisk, she hesitated. Then opened the book, asterisk, a journal, she said. It was under the body of a boy I tried to save. 12 years old, never got his name. Asterisk her voice cracked. Asterisk. I read it once, just once, and then I hid it. Didn't want to believe what it said. She held it up. There's a list in here, names of soldiers, officers, one of them. Asterisk, she turned a page, held it up. Asterisk, Elias Creed. Asterisk, he looked at it, stared. I was there, he said, I know. He didn't speak again for miles. Asterisk, that night. The rain came for the first time in weeks. Asterisk, they found shelter beneath a rock overhang. Clara didn't sleep. Neither did he. Asterisk, instead, they sat back to back in the dark, not touching. Not speaking, asterisk, but breathing, together, above them. The stars flickered behind slow-moving clouds. Below, the ashes of their fire whispered into the dirt. The rain stopped before dawn, but the sky remained bruised. Low-hanging clouds drifted like smoke over the hills. The air carried a strange stillness, the kind that comes before something breaks. Asterisk Clara stood at the edge of the overhang, her boots sinking slightly into the mud. The journal hung from her fingers, its spine softened from blood and storm. Behind her, Elias saddled the horse in silence. Just over that ridge, she said. He didn't ask how she knew. He'd seen that look before in soldiers who returned to the site of battle, not to fight again, but to bury what was left of themselves. Asterisk, they rode side by side as the sun crawled over the broken hills. Trees grew sparser. The wind picked up somewhere. A hawk screamed. Then they saw it. Ashvale, or what was left. Charred timbers jutted from the earth like bones. Stone walls slumped under their own weight. The chapel's remains were still visible, its front steps sunken. Its steeple collapsed into itself. Asterisk Clara dismounted slowly, her knees weak. She walked across the blackened soil, each step stirring flakes of ash that never quite blew away. She knelt beside a cluster of wood that once might have been pews. Asterisk. Elias stood behind her. She pressed her palm to the dirt. There was a girl here, she whispered. Her name was Lottie, had a stammer. Used to collect wildflowers for the altar, asterisk, she turned her hand upward. Ash clung to her fingers, asterisk. I told her to hide behind the organ. A long pause. She was the last one I saw. Asterisk Elias removed his hat. His face looked older in the gray light. Then a new sound. Hooves. Asterisk. Fast, heavy, more than one. Elias stepped forward. Riders appeared over the ridge, 6, maybe 7. Dust rose behind them like a second storm. Clara's hand went to her pistol. Elias raised his rifle. Asterisk. The riders stopped 20 yards out. A man stepped down. He wore a black coat with a silver cross at his neck. Not a preacher, just someone who wanted the authority of one. He shouted across the open space. "Turn the girl!" Over. Clara's eyes narrowed. The man tossed something. It hit the ground near her boots. She knelt. Lifted it, a silver cross, but not the man's. Asterisk. Elias stepped closer, peering at it, then froze. Asterisk. "That's my sister's," he said. Clara looked at him. "She lived here?" He nodded, barely. "She sent me a letter. Begged me to come. I didn't." Asterisk. The riders fanned out. "Guns drawn." Asterisk. "I'm giving you one chance," the man in black called. "She's worth 2,000 dead or alive. But I'll take her alive if it means fewer holes in my coat." Asterisk. Clara turned to Elias. "Run," she said. He didn't move. Asterisk. "I mean it. I can stall them. Just go." Elias's voice was quiet, solid. "No." Asterisk. "Why?" He loaded a round into the chamber. "Because I left Ashvale once." His jaw flexed. "I'm not leaving it again." The gunfire cracked like thunder. Asterisk. Clara dropped to one knee behind the remnants of a stone wall and fired twice. 1. Rider fell. Elias moved like a shadow, precise, silent, brutal. Asterisk. Dust erupted with every shot. A bullet clipped Clara's side just above the hip. She gritted her teeth and kept firing. Asterisk. Elias took a round in the leg and staggered, but didn't stop. He fired back from behind a burned wagon, each shot clean. Each shot final. Asterisk. A rider came at him from the flank. Clara stood and took the man down with a shot through the collarbone. He screamed. Then silence. Smoke hung heavy. The final 2 riders turned their horses and fled. Asterisk. Elias dropped to one knee. Asterisk. Blood soaked his trouser leg. Clara ran to him. "Hold on." Asterisk. He shook his head. "Not bad." Asterisk. "You're bleeding." Asterisk. "So are you." Asterisk. She glanced down. The wound was clean but deep. Her fingers trembled. "I can stitch it," she said. Elias chuckled, then winced. "Reckon I'll let you." Asterisk. She pulled him under the broken wall. The ash beneath them puffed up like breath. They sat there for a long time, both leaning against the same wall they had fought behind. Asterisk. Elias stared at the silver cross in his hand. Asterisk. "She used to wear this," he murmured. "Even when Pa beat her for it." Asterisk. Clara tilted her head. "Why?" Asterisk. Said it gave her something to believe in. He looked at her. "Guess I never had that." Clara didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her satchel and pulled out the boy's journal. She opened to the last page. Asterisk. "If anyone reads this," she read aloud, "please know we weren't bad. We just didn't leave in time." Elias looked down. "I should have come back sooner." She closed the book gently. "But you came back now." They buried the cross beneath the stone arch that had once framed the chapel doors. Number. Prayers, just dirt, wind, silence. Asterisk. As they mounted their horse again, Clara looked over her shoulder. Asterisk. "I think she forgave you," she said. Elias turned his face to the road. "I didn't ask her to." Asterisk. "But I think she did anyway." Asterisk. They rode out under a gray sky that never quite turned blue. The storm had passed, but it hadn't gone far. They reached the border town 2 days later. Just a row of crooked buildings and a post with no flag. Asterisk. At the edge of town. Elias pulled the horse to a stop. Asterisk. "This is where I leave you," he said. Clara didn't answer. "I'm no good beyond this road." Still, she said nothing. He stepped down, limping slightly. His shadow stretched across the road. She waited. Then, finally, she looked at him. Asterisk. Elias. He paused. "You're coming with me." He turned, and this time he nodded. Asterisk. They rode into the unknown. Together, not healed, not whole, but not alone. And in a world built on ash and silence, sometimes. That was enough.